Blog Talk Radio.
It's a new thing that's sweeping the land when you don't know which way to go. The answer is Jesus and Elevation Radio.
Oh, yeah, we're back. It is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, Music Man Turner, and we thank you for taking the journey with us. This is the program that spotlights positive people doing positive work while serving a positive God. And excuse my English, ain't nothing wrong with that. And so we are pleased and proud as punch to have one of Baltimore's best here on this program. We have a lot of things going on here in Baltimore, but we want to tell you Baltimore is a great place, and don't let the media fool you. So our sponsor today is the great one, the one who has never lost a battle. His name is God, Elohim Adonai, as Jesus. If you don't like that, then you need to turn the channel. All right, our verse to rehearse is my favorite. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. That's Psalms 91, my favorite. But also we'll throw another one in that the birds of the air have nests, the foxes have holes, but the Son of Man have nowhere to lay his head. Christ was homeless. Oh, my God. Why can't we end homelessness? Advocating for change. In the wake of the most recent scandal in Baltimore's top political circle is a long festering corruption involving Baltimore's homeless population forced to endure neglect, inhumanity, and the decades of misappropriations of federal resources and funding earmarked to make their lives better. We will discuss the state of affairs of Baltimore's homeless population with one of our leading activists, the Reverend Christina Flowers. And she is on the line. Come on, clap your hands, everybody. How you feel?
Awesome. Happy Monday, Pastor.
Bless you. And so we want to ask a question. Jess, who is, I knew you when you were Christina Flowers, and now you moved into Reverend. I was there for the change.
Amen. Yes, the change was dynamic and well overly long due.
Okay.
Well overly long due. I guess just like our topic today, why can't we end homelessness? And we can get into that at any time because it's a lot of entities and reasons of why we're not ending homelessness, especially in a city like Baltimore.
Okay, let's do the qualification. What organization do you spearhead?
I spearhead an organization called the Belvedere Real Care Providers. We are an organization of homeless advocates that operate independently in the city of Baltimore, addressing homeless issues 365 days a year, Pastor. We don't take a holiday break like Thanksgiving or Christmas. We just operate and we organize and we work with different individuals to address street homelessness and individuals that are living in areas that is not fit for humanity to be living in.
How many years have you been doing, and how did you get started in this?
Well, I started dealing with homelessness, I guess when I was kind of like thrust into it on March the 7th, 2013, when I first encountered what is called an encampment, where individuals reside outside within tents or in a street dwelling. So March the 7th, 2013, we were forced with the situation of housing at least 12 individuals off of the I-83 corridor in downtown Baltimore City.
Isn't I-83 an expressway?
It is an expressway. This was an area that sat right in front of. You have the Jeanette and Harriet Weinberg Shelter. You have the Our Daily Bread, and you have the prison. These individuals was in this area for quite a long time, Pastor. It's like I guess when I approached it, I thought I was looking at some kind of circus or zoo outside. But I was engaged and I was faced with individuals who found themselves in a desperate situation of being evicted off of this encampment. And when you think about being evicted and you're already living outside, I guess that definitely took my interest, because I couldn't imagine who would be evicting individuals that already live in an outside dwelling.
Wait a minute now. Yeah, you're saying evicted from being homeless and living outside. Who would be so cruel and heartless?
Well, one of the things we deal with a lot in Baltimore City is what we call the administrative factor, whether the agency is a housing agency, whether it's the COC agency, which is the continuum of care. A lot of organizations that is recognized through the HUD process of dealing with homelessness, they have things in place that really is kind of ineffective when it comes to emergency or supportive services. They have so many different descriptions. You have chronic homelessness, and they may use these individuals as individuals experiencing homelessness on repeatedly occasions or even more than a year. So you have your chronic homeless individuals, you have your couch surfers, you have individuals that can be homeless today when they're dealing with an eviction or being displaced.
So we got categorization. I did spend 2 years working at, I probably can't give the name of the shelter because it would probably be inconducive, but Westside Emergency Men's Shelter. And so we're not afraid here. Which is interesting. Well, one of the things I learned on this journey, Pastor, is when you start naming certain names, you can become alienated from a lot of opportunities and funding resources to really be able to address this issue, looking at it from a solution point of view. This has definitely been a challenge for our network in Baltimore City because we do operate independently. We have not met that granted criteria recipient, and one of the reasons for that is they want you to operate under a lot of the agencies' policies and procedures, but we're treating homeless individuals on their standard like research. And I say research because when you have these individuals living outside for years at a time, not accessing certain resources and services that are always publicly put out there, then we have encampments and people sleeping all over our city in some, again, hazardous, inhumane situations. Well, I think that we have not. I'm going to have to turn. You say we have to turn up a little bit. I'm going to have to turn up the heat, make it a little spicy. I read a Baltimore Sun article some time ago that the former mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, who was the first person who I believe to try to evict the homeless, really kicking the poor in the head. She actually, there was a pastor there, and I call it Tent City, where it was behind the post office. There was a pastor who allowed the homeless to encamp in his church on his lot. There was a field and next to the church, and he allowed them to sleep there and do things there and just have some humanity. He couldn't stand to see them wandering around, so he took care of them that way. People came down and provided services there. He said in an article in the Baltimore Sun that Stephanie Rawlings Blake came to him with her entourage and demanded that he evict them from that property, and she threatened him, and he said, "Well, if you want to evict them, then the first or second arrest you will be making is me, and once I tell people that you have done it, let's see how well you can stay in office." So, she eventually backed off. But can you imagine no kind of humanity, no kind of morality that she's going to threaten a pastor or the church around? This is the beginning of the end. And so I believe that the current mayor, Catherine, we can't find her pew. They were friends. They're friends, and because I wonder what would a senator be doing going backwards in the political spectrum? You go from city council, you go to become a delegate, and you move on up to the mayor, and then you move on up to governor, and you move on up to senator, and you go up that way to president. This is the Martin O'Malley approach, and what other folks have done, Senator Barack Obama. You don't usually go backwards, but I think we understand now why she was told to go backwards, just because she could do things. Now, if you spend more time wondering about yourself and making deals and sweetheart deals and hoarding the money for yourself, then you don't have time to appreciate and to help the poor. I'm trying to appreciate the homeless or those who cannot defend for themselves. You will begin to become cold-hearted. And it said the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. And that's just my opinion. And that's why we have an epidemic, a scenario that doesn't befit what's happening. There's no humanity here.
Exactly. One of the things, when we look at our current leadership, we as community leaders and activists and advocates have to take a more personal approach, because we shouldn't have to operate within a title to be called leaders. If we know the God that we serve, and this God allows us to have the most intelligent and developmental creative minds that we have an opportunity here in our city now, while we are under such poor leadership. I mean, let's face the fact here. Everything affects the constituents in our city right now, and basically, as a homeless advocate, we are in high volume right now, because not only are we dealing with poor leadership, we had a shelter close last Monday, Pastor. It's the Monument Street Men's Shelter, and basically this shelter was closed just due to environmental issues. Now, you don't just walk in a shelter one day and close that shelter, but when we have individuals in our city living in inhumane conditions and it goes ignored by our leaders, who's going to get caught up in the ruffle now when we're looking at a situation today where we pretty much had to combine homeless men into another shelter where you do have women and children at? Like, who are things like this? And then it just goes over everybody's head, the fact that our administrative, our leaders, they operate in such a way of independency against the leaders as a homeless advocate. I've been voicing my opinion and views about this all week in Baltimore City, because I, too, operate an emergency supportive housing program. And one of my main priorities, because I do specialize in taking people from out of tents and from under the bridges, I be very careful of even allowing someone with children to be able to reside in my building, because it becomes a safety issue. It becomes an issue. Are we having children around safe individuals? So we have a system in our city where anything goes when it comes to them being able to have dictatorship or being able to do what it is that they want to do at any given time.
I can understand that. Is it getting hot in here? Let me turn up a little bit more. I remember a press conference when SRB, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, was mayor. I remember when Stephanie Rawlings Blake was mayor, there was a news conference around noontime, and she was looking petrified. It was about the $4.9 million, which were stolen. Oh, I'm sorry, misappropriated, which HUD had given to the folks down here who oversaw all of these programs to help the poor, and wonder why were they still outside of our daily bread, scrapping for bread? Why were they in the Weinberg, which I call the Walmart of homeless shelters, and some degree, and where did all the money go? In services and folks getting a nice fat paycheck, but the problem was not solved. And then someone told me, well, this has been going on systemically for over a decade. The misappropriation of money.
And one of the things that you say, Pastor, is correct. When we're dealing with mismanagement, when we're dealing with agencies not managing funds appropriately, when you're looking at, like you said, the $9.5 million, and when you're looking at the fact that they had to return back $3.8 million, I mean, I don't know about you, but if someone come into your household and take a couple of paychecks away, it can really have some serious consequences of what it is that we're dealing with here. So it wasn't too many consequences put into place from that $9.5 million mismanagement. Matter of fact, one of my questions was, like, where's the consequences? Where's the head rolling at? Because when you look at Baltimore City, I believe every agency, from not only homeless agencies, but we're dealing with our schools now. Now we got Project Baltimore running around exposing everything from bullying to the issues in our school. But parents and individuals been advocating for schools in this city for years. So again, where do our leadership allow community leaders and advocates and activists to be a part of a collaborative effort? It's no opportunity, because it is real heavy in our city, where you will become alienated when you address such issues as this. So where do we begin as community leaders, as ministers and clergy, to address some of the main issues that has been drenched in our city for years?
Watch yourself now. You're going on dangerous ground. You just said clergy. And I will
stay on dangerous ground pretty much.
I'll tell you that as a clergy now, I began to talk about this scenario when it comes to ministers of music being treated as slaves in churches, and trying to start a union. I was blackballed, and then when I had problems with the police force of talking about the illegalities of standing up to racism and just flat out corruption when I was a police officer, and I didn't stand with that. I stood against that. I found myself alienated, and I found that the church world, the clergy world, the music world, all combined together, even into the work world, where I was found myself blackballed and couldn't get jobs and things of that nature. So this is what I warned you. I said, be careful, because you don't want to end up like me.
I know.
To live on the grace of God only.
And you know, I have to definitely, I take my hats off to, you know, advocates and activists like yourself. When I first came into Baltimore, definitely was always keeping me warned about the outcome. But, you know, I guess God had a plan, and I had to see it to believe it, because one of the things that I know in our city right now is we don't have a lot of strong voices that stand up for the average activist or the advocate. We don't have a lot of strong, not even clergy leaders that stand up. I mean, as a minister in training myself, you know, I'm privileged to be amongst from the clergy part of this to the political part of this. And somewhere, even within our church walls, we need to be strengthening and empowering our congregation how to come together to address some of the oppression in our city. Can you imagine having a congregation with 10,000 members and not being able to address our political leaders in a way to where we should be making certain demands in our city to change the situation? I mean, I'm not getting off topic. We had 7 people shot in one day. Like, where do they allow this at? And then we have men and women of God that doesn't have a reaction. Like, nobody was at City Hall this morning, you know, having a reaction. Like, this is alarming to our city right now. You know, we have 4,000 homeless people on any given night. This should be alarming to our city. But at the same time, we have to mellow down to, you know, one activist, one Christina Flowers, or, you know, a handful of us that is constantly being divided. And I say being divided because every word you can think of, conquer and dividing, is one of the main techniques that our political leaders uses towards the average community leader. They want to divide us.
Watch yourself now. You're getting on dangerous ground. You're messing with fire. Do you remember what happened to us when we went down on the invitation of where you wanted us to go to the mayor's pastoral breakfast?
Yes, we wasn't allowed in.
And when I finally got up to the second level,
Pastor, we didn't make the cut.
No, I saw premier pastors coming in and waving at me. Hey, Steve, how you feel? I had played for them. I knew them, but they were carte blanche. And so finally, after maybe an hour, I finally managed to get upstairs. And when I got up to the second level, I saw the passes that they said that we were not approved for, or they never got. I saw our names there on the counter, and an Anglo-Saxon gentleman jumped up and asked me the question, "Do you belong up here?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do. I am a pastor." He said, "Oh," went and sat down. And then I called the angel of death, Captain Pugh's aide, came out and said, "Wait a minute, Pastor, you can't come in here." I said, "Can't come in, and why?" Because the mayor, Captain Pugh, she's speaking. Okay, that's nice. I appreciate you telling me the information. And I started to proceed to go in. No, Pastor, you can't come in because the mayor, she's speaking. I said, oh, so what you're saying is that if I come in, then I'm going to upset the whole entire apple cart. Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
Let's put her head down. Yes, she was told not to let me come in. So I said, man, I've been thrown out of better whorehouses than this. Okay, so it's okay. You can go back and tell her that I won't dirty my feet up by coming in. Because, I would ask her a question. Why are you asking pastors for money for the after-school program? Because I work for the city at some point. So I know that you were allocated the money. What did you do with it? I asked any pastors actually go in their pocket and actually give any money? And somebody said, well, they pledged money. How did they pledge money? Did they pledge it from their personal bank accounts? Or was it pledged from the offerings given by the clergy? Given by the congregation? And somebody said, well, it didn't come from their personal bank accounts. It came from the congregation. Why are you volunteering my money? Whoa.
Again, Pastor, I love your advocacy because this is a topic we could talk about. And one of the things I take a lot of pride in is Proverbs 31:9. It tells us to speak loud for the poor and the needy, and it tells us to judge righteously. When we're in a city like Baltimore and we're watching prosperity around us, it makes me think about, when they was dragging Jesus Christ through the streets. Was anybody jumping up or speaking out for him? Did anybody get knocked out or, got knocked down because they probably was compelled to speak up or try to help Jesus. So, we have to take that in a 2020 version. When people personally attack me, myself, which happens daily, I have to be reminded that, we have those of us who are willing to speak up or speak out boldly, but then we have those of us who have a cowardly mentality. As long as we go along to get along, we don't want to rock the boat. If we're getting our funding and we're operating our programs the way we want to operate them, then we're not threatened by no one else. We don't want to speak up for no one else because we're dwelling in our own comfort zone or our own prosperity. So we always have to be on that front line.
Watch yourself. I'm trying to rein you back in before you get into deep water. Listen, let me take a commercial break here for a second. Speaking of another activist, it's totally out of control. My friend Tawana Jones is going to be having a 300th West Wednesday on this Wednesday, May 1st. Starts at 7 o'clock and goes to 8:30, and then they have another march from 8:30 to 10 at Garland Hall at Johns Hopkins. They're trying to end the Johns Hopkins police movement, which is going to be horrific and prejudiced and racist if they're allowed to do that. Which, it's funny how Johns Hopkins policies can move fast through the legislature, but we can't get homelessness resolved quickly. Oh, my goodness. So she's going to be out there, and I guess I'll be out there too. Good God Almighty. So I'm hanging with the gangsters and the folks who are
in the right position to help. Our sister Tawana Jones is definitely a warrior of Baltimore City when it comes to her standing up, not just for righteousness and justice for her brother. She has now, this is something that has, God has totally used her for a voice in our city of Baltimore. And, it's one thing that I haven't really wrapped my mind around, Pastor, and maybe you could help me because you're probably more longer at this than I am.
I'm old. Go ahead.
One of the things that we should do or be doing as interfaith leadership is building those up who God has appointed and anointed to do certain things. I know the cross that I bear. I understand the journey that God has put me on as a homeless advocate. And even sometimes when I ask him, why me, God? Why did you bring me out of my comfort zones to this? And it's obvious, just like with Sister Tawana Jones, God see those that he chooses to use and to empower to do certain things. But then we become an issue not only for our political circle, but we also become an issue for the interfaith community, the men and women of God that should be gravitating to humanity issues. We should be gravitating to build each other up. When Nehemiah came back, didn't he have to build an army? Didn't he have to have people like, we look for this, we crave for this to find those with us, but then we get comfort out of the scriptures, when God say, the harvest is plentiful. The harvest is in our city, but the workers are.
Listen, behave yourself now. Listen, how can they reach you if they want to donate? Because you are a nonprofit. We got 60 seconds.
Well, we definitely look for the support. We are located at 2526 North Charles Street. We also have a website, www.helpbaltimoreshomeless.org. And if you need to reach us, you could call us 410-365-5567. And we are looking for partnership and collaborations of individuals to work with us, as our mission is to end homelessness in Baltimore City and the surrounding counties, because we know it can be done, Pastor. I mean, when you're looking at losing at least 200 homeless people to these streets per year out here, we know it's something that we can do to change that situation. So we fight every day. We call ourselves Team 365 because we know this is bigger than Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is an issue that we all should take personal. And if it's not your passion and it's not your gift to work on, then support those of us that do. You know, I'm okay in the woods. I'm okay under the bridge. You know, I know where God has called me to be with the least of them. So if it's not your passion and it's not your gift or your strength to do so, because I understand that everyone is called to do something different. Some want to be developers. Some want to be an architect or something famous. But you have those of us that want to see an end to homelessness and getting these individuals off the street. So we can use your help, your support. Again, 410-365-5567, and you can go to our website, www.helpbaltimoreshomeless.org.
Well, on that note, we thank you for allowing us to shine the spotlight on work that you've done and the mission that you've taken up. It says that he that lendeth, giveth to the poor, lendeth to the Lord. And it's something that every leader, Jack Young, listen to that, buddy. Okay. See, old mayor, you want to walk in the big shoes, baby, then get in your billions of dollars in your pocket and allocate some money for the homeless. How about that?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
We definitely speaking up about this issue because, again, I mean, these are priorities in our city. And right now we are under a new mayor, and it's time that our new mayor, Young, he treat this as it is. Baltimore City is a city in crisis right now. And some of his decisions need to go past some of the things that he's working on. And, yes, we do need our alleys clean, but we also got a bunch of squeegee kids that could use that job running through the alleys and cleaning it up every day instead of washing windows. But we're going to save that, Pastor, because, like you say, you don't want me to get in all the trouble around here.
I told you, I asked you if you wanted an hour, so we have to come back. We have to come back again on this one and do a part two. And so hopefully next time we'll have some of your clients call in and tell them the experiences of how their life has been made better since encountering Christian power.
Definitely,
all right?
I definitely look forward to it. I thank you so much for having me on, and blessings to your show. And also, you could tune in on Thursdays, 2:30 to 4 p.m., WOLB 1010 a.m., and have some real talk with Miss Flowers.
Oh, that's right. Part of the Radio 1 network.
Yes, I am.
You are. All right. No problem with that. I understand you got a TV show, too.
We have been working with I-95 to get something started on the TV area, but we haven't really kicked off it yet, so it's still a work in progress. But God is opening doors so that the message of ending homelessness can be something that we can be strategically planning on within ourselves.
All right. And on that note, we thank you. And as I've always said, keep your head up, keep your head up, keep your head up. God is always on the throne. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. You be blessed.
You too now. Take care.